North Staffordshire. This is Cre8 Radio.
It is, and it's Tommy Hill with his Tommy Hill Spectacular here on Cre8 Radio. Oh, quiet, Vanessa Carlton. We'll have you a bit later, don't worry. It's Cre8 Radio, as I said, and it's now 23 minutes past 6 on this Monday evening, and that was Ordinary by Dayve Dean, who is here in the studio, and you were talking about Storm the Charts, weren't you?
Yes, Storm the Charts is, as I said, it's a big campaign on Facebook and going out into the real world. Do you remember the Rage Against the Machine?
Against Joe McElderry. Yes,
yes, I can't even remember his name, but yeah, they
X Factor winner, yes.
And that sort of inspired numerous groups on Facebook for trying to get this to #1 for this day and this to #1 for this day. But Storm the Charts is another one of these groups, but they're kind of even more ambitious. They're trying to take over the entire top 40.
So the whole lot, number 1 to number 40?
Number 1 to 40 they're trying to take over, and it's a sort of very ambitious aim with the idea that, okay, they probably won't manage that, but it's all for unsigned artists, and I'm hoping that, you know, we might get one unsigned artist in the top 40, we might get 2, 3, 10, you know, you don't know.
We might get the whole chart.
Well, exactly. I mean, the thing is, to take over the entire chart, you would need to sell, you know, each artist, even the artist at number 40, would have to sell more than the artist that would ordinarily have been number 1, so you're sort of talking millions, really.
Yeah.
So
it is.
But I mean, it's, you know, you probably need a few thousand sales to get in the top 40 at the minute, maybe sort of 4,000, 4,000 or 5,000 sales. It's not sort of, you know, the millions that it was, but it's really the idea of the campaign is to raise awareness of unsigned music and to try and do something a bit different, and so that, you know, we don't necessarily want the X Factor stuff in the charts all the time, and there is other music out there, and that's the idea of it. But it's a group on Facebook. They've been collecting artists to be put forward for it for the last few months. It started around January time, I think, and the entries have just closed this last week. And there's now about 500 artists that have put themselves forward or been put forward for it, and that's going to be whittled down to the 40 that are the acts that are going to be then promoted. And the idea is that everyone in the Facebook group goes and buys, hopefully, all 40 or at least one of the 40 of those acts, and that hopefully should get, you know, enough sales to get one or all the acts in the charts. So that's the idea of it. At the moment, the voting hasn't quite begun. But it's going to be decided, these 40 acts are going to be decided by both a panel of experts who are, it's some of the people that...
Now, when you say experts...
Well, it's some of the people that used to do the unsigned stage at Glastonbury. So
okay, so they know their stuff.
They are, yeah, they're not just people out of the blue, so they should know what they're doing. So they're going to have sort of half of the votes, and the other half is down to a public vote. So they're trying to... It's a very sort of almost community-spirited thing. It's all organised on the Facebook wall, and they're trying to say, you know, is this a fair way of doing it? Is that a fair way of doing it? And what it looks like they're doing is sort of grouping the various acts, of the 500 acts, they're grouping them into lots of 5. So there'd be, I guess, 100 groups of 5, and you vote for as many of those groups of 5 as you like, as which is your favourite in there. So it's getting people out, getting people listening to them, seeing who can... get votes on that, and then the next week they'll switch them around, so you're up against different people, and then it sort of gets whittled down to hopefully the 40 acts, and it's looking like it's going to be somewhere around the 6th of June is sort of the first date of it, and then for that week, whichever is the chart week, which I think starts on the Sunday going through to the following Saturday night. So my entry into that is Ordinary, that we just heard, and hopefully I'm going to be whittled down to one of those 40. If not, it's, you know, it's still a great thing to be involved in, and still a, you know, a good thing for people to follow, and being part of those 500. It means that, you know, that there's potentially thousands of people that will hear the song, which is a great thing to do as well. But obviously, if everyone that's listening wants to go and vote for me every week for the next few weeks and get me into the 40, then I'm not going to say no to that either. Obviously.
Of course not. Well, the reason why I mentioned downloads at the beginning of our conversation was that now with the downloads, downloads being available, it's become so much easier, and it's kind of revitalised the singles market as a whole. And it was a couple of years ago that the first unsigned artist got into the top 40, and that was because of downloads, because they built this. Pardon?
That would be Cooper.
It was the very one, because they built up this the fan base around them, and then said, let's go by the track, showing that you don't need necessarily a record label behind you to necessarily get in. They only made it to number 36, I think, at the time, but it was still a great achievement for them. And to do this for the whole top 40, do you think? I want you to put your neck out on the line. How many do you think are going to get into the top 40?
I'm sort of fairly positive about it, actually. I mean, June is not a massive week. There's no sort of X Factor or anything going on that week as far as I'm aware. There's nothing sort of big reason for people to go out and buy music. So, yeah, I'm quite positive. I'm thinking maybe at least 20 are going to get somewhere. Maybe not the 40, but certainly, you know, to chart in the top 75, 100, something like that. So yeah, it's quite a positive thing, really. So long as the songs are any good, and hopefully the voting process should bring it down to that. I mean, you know, I've listened to a few on there. Some are good and some are less good, but it's, you know, hopefully there'll be good songs on there, and people will go and vote. It's a lot of the time it's that people haven't found the music, so they haven't get to know it and haven't been able to do it, and you know, being able to come on things like this radio station and let people hear the music is a fantastic opportunity. Just means people can hear it and they might go and search out more. So that's you know, when you've got your big nationwide networks, there's a limit to how many unsigned bands they can play, particularly when they've got the big labels plugging at them as well. So it's just a great opportunity for everyone to get themselves heard, really.
And it sounds like it's going to be one part of a very busy summer for you, which we'll talk more about after we finally get to Vanessa Carlton, who's been waiting in the wings. It's Cre8 Radio FM with Tommy Hill on this Monday evening.